We are so super blessed this morning to have two special guests on with us, Dr. Gary Lawrence and Sylvia. And I hear my phone. Don't move, because sometimes people cannot get on and they might be messaging me. Aha. Yes. Can somebody message Brandon Gilbert the link, please, for the meeting? Thank you. We are, if you're new and you're a guest here, we are so excited for you to meet us, and we are excited to meet you. We are a nationwide community of real estate investors and business owners, and we have so many stories in our community. We do a lot of different things if this is your first time here. So we do, real estate investing masterminds, we do property tours. We actually have a live property tour this morning in Orlando. We always have something going on. We've got, deal or no deal, but this particular morning event with our coffee, our special morning drink, as Bill and I were discussing, is really special because we have so many inspiring stories in our community. And I don't know about you, but I can always use an inspiring story. This particular story that we're about to talk about and hear, I remember hearing it when I first joined the community, and it was incredible to me. And it's still to this day, one of the most inspiring stories we have in our community, and we have a lot. So just so you know, we are all over the nation. This particular team is Team TGIF, which we decided means Thrive, Grow, and Invest for Your Future. And that's what we do. We do this together. We encourage each other. As we were just talking about, we just had an incredible event in South Florida that we call our regionals. So you guys are in for a treat if you are just now getting to know us, and we are super excited. And for those of you in the family, I'm so happy. My heart is full that you're here. I joined our community 7 years ago. It's really hard to believe it's been 7 years, and it's been life-changing for me. And again, I am one tiny story in so many. I've been able to do real estate transactions. I've done 29. I've been able to create amazing relationships. I truly believe that who you surround yourself makes the biggest difference in your life, and how, the world can sometimes just be tough. And so it's like taking a shower every day, rinsing your mind, getting that mindset right, getting, surrounding with the right people. And that's what I've chosen to do. And that is why, we do this event. And like I said, you'll probably hear some other stories as well, but super, super grateful for our guest today. And I want to just kind of set the tone. So what we're going to do okay, perfect. Okay, you helped Karina. Yes, Diana. Okay, they're all pouring in. Okay. So what we're going to do is we have the privilege of being able to speak with Dr. Gary Lawrence and his wife, Sylvia, this morning. And they have been in this community quite a long time, longer than I have. As I said, one of their story was one of the first ones that truly inspired me. So we'd like to go back and maybe talk a little bit about before. What was your life like before? You guys had an amazing career, and you did everything, I'm guessing, right. You set up yourself for retirement. You followed the path that you thought was going to be, and then we can get all the way into what has changed for you, what kinds of things that you've had to overcome. So I'm super excited to introduce to you guys Dr. Gary Lawrence and Sylvia. I don't see Sylvia. Can we highlight them?
I'm here. I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Perfect.
I am here. There we go.
Yay. Yay.
You're good, girl.
And you see the balloons in the background, Debbie? we just celebrated Sylvia's 76th birthday.
Wow. Happy birthday. That's
So-
Thank you.
so lovely. Wow. You're beautiful.
Thanks.
So,
Well, are you going to get started or do you want me to?
Well, I just waited for Debbie to finish her monologue.
my monologue. They're like, would Debbie please shut up? Yeah.
No,
I-
it's
I
good.
would-
It's good to see you again, Debbie. My goodness, you're just looking as young as ever.
Aw, well, thank you. It has been way too long. I needed a
Yeah.
dose of you guys in my life.
Yeah.
So, well, tell us a
Well,
little bit about you guys before all of this. Like what,
Well, I'll go way back. I'm a person, when I see something that I believe in, I embrace it. And 55 years ago, I met this beautiful brown-eyed, olive-skinned brunette on college campus. And I asked her out for a date, and she turned me down 6 times. But I stayed after her, and finally on I think it was our 5th or 6th date, I said, honey, we need to get married. So we got married 4 months after we met. That was 55 years ago. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I look at how I became part of the Renatus family when I saw what Bob Snyder was offering, and that was back in January of 2011. Bob Snyder had a national teleconference, and after a 2-hour conversation, I hung up and I told Sylvia, honey, I'm going to become part of Renatus, and I'm going to see that Renatus has a foothold in the state of Arizona. So anyway, before I heard about Renatus, Sylvia and I, we had our own Christian marriage and family counseling clinic for 23 years. And I had been on the radio for 20 years with an hour-long talk show, Monday through Friday. It was called Life Mastery Counseling with Dr. G. And so anyway, in 2003, we retired from the counseling. Now, we had planned our retirement, Debbie, for 25 years through mutual funds and stocks. And we were very consistent with our financial commitment to our retirement. Well, it took me 6 weeks to uncover the fact that we'd already lost 65% of our retirement portfolio in the stock crash. That was back in the 2008 stock crash. So anyway, it was frustrating. It's, hey, this is not supposed to happen. And so we'd already retired from the counseling, a very successful career. But we lived on what we had left for the next 5 years. And so I was almost 65. And but because I had no income, Debbie, I had no money, I had no savings. I mean, we were broke. Now, we might have been broke, but we weren't broken, okay? And so I decided I'm going to re-educate myself at the young age of 65, and I'm going to learn how to become a successful real estate investor. And so I got laser focused, and I'm not going to talk about a lot of numbers, but I do want to bring this out. Remember, I was bankrupt. I had no cash. I had no savings. And but in my first 14 months, because of what I learned with the Renatus education, I was able to generate just under 200,000 in profits. Now, you just have to understand my personality. I may have been broke, but I don't do broke, Debbie. Broke is not fun. Broke is a hardship. Poverty is a mindset. Broke is a circumstance. And how did that happen? Well, I had no money. And so what I did, I sat down and made a list of former clients who might remember me as the businessman I was, as the coach, as the counselor that I was. And I made arrangements to meet with 7 of them at one of the Courtyard by Marriott hotels here in the Valley. And the first 6 were very kind, and they're rejecting my request. Would you like to partner with me in my venture as a real estate investor? Well, the 7th one, her name was Julie. She's a lady I'd counseled many years ago. And I said, now, Julie, you don't have to say yes or no. You don't have to answer anything. But I want you to consider this. And so I read to her the value proposition. You see, I didn't want to borrow money. I wanted to bring value to people. And so I brought the value proposition to her, and Debbie, I'm not kidding you. I no sooner finished reading that, and she stood up and said, Dr. G, I've got to go to the ladies' room. And I thought, oh, pooey, she's going to say no too. And she came back and she said, well, I made up my mind, Dr. G. And I said, well, Julie, you don't have to make a decision. She said, no, I appreciate the opportunity to partner with you, and I will be glad to finance your education. And she wrote me a check right there for $25,000. Now, a true entrepreneur, they create something out of nothing. And so when I look back, that's exactly what I did. And I didn't even realize the value of what I was accomplishing then, okay? But what happened is the next day she called me back and she said, hey, Dr. G, I just got to thinking, would it be possible for me to enroll in that education with you? So 24 hours after I got enrolled, she became my first student with Renatus. So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is super cool.
Sylvia had a different take on it. She was not in favor of what I was doing. So how do you handle the treacherous waters of being broke, going through bankruptcy, losing the house you lived in for 18 years, and your wife not being on the same page with you? So I'm going to be quiet and let Sylvia talk.
Oh, you are? Okay. Okay. Well, no, I was not in favor. Okay. I will be honest with you. After we had worked so hard and saved our money and lost everything, then we're here, we're broke, we are retired, and it's like, Lord, something's not right here. I mean, it's like we're back in college again. We've been married 48 years or 45 or whatever it was. And it's like we're back in college again. This is not right. Something is wrong here. So Gary's trying a couple of different things and some internet stuff, and that didn't work. And I'm just going, this is crazy. And we were out driving one day and he saw this little sign. I didn't see it. He saw this little bitty sign down by the stop sign that said, see if I can remember what it said.
Real estate investor seeks trainee.
Yep. Real estate investor needs trainee. And Gary's like, write that number down. I'm like, what? He's like, write that number down, Sylv. I'm like, what number? I didn't even see the sign. He saw the sign. So I wrote it down. He called and I'm like, he's like, I'm going to this meeting. I'm like, Gary, why are you going over there? These people all have money. We don't have money. Why would you do that? And he's like, Sylv, I'm going to go see what this is. Came home excited, all this stuff, kept going to everything they had. He doesn't play cash flow. Gary hates cash flow, but he's going to these cash flow games. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense to me. So then he said, I'm going to do this. And when he did, that's when I started praying, Lord, don't let him get in this. Did he not learn anything? We're broke. We have lost everything. There is nothing any higher risk than real estate. And we have filed bankruptcy, and now he's going to get us all back in debt. I mean, I've just got this scenario going in my head of it's going to be. It's bad, but this is going to make it worse. And of course, I'm one of those wives. I'm not going with you. You go by yourself. If I went with him, I wouldn't have that, right? But anyway, but he went even without me. Well, understand, Gary and I have done everything together. We have worked together our whole life. But this I was having nothing to do with. So he went ahead and did it anyway. Well, took him about 6 weeks to come up with a way to get the money. He got the money, and I'm going to tell you, he was off and running. And I'm like, I probably should get on board with him, I guess, if he's going to take this thing and go with it. And he came home and he's like, "Hey, Sylv, I made some money today." And I'm like, "You did?" "Yeah, I enrolled my first student." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, if you'd come with me, you'd know." So, you know, so anyway, so that's kind of where I was, but I slowly got on board with him, met Bob Snyder, and I was very impressed with Bob. He is such a great guy and such a gentleman. And so I was able to meet him and meet some of the leaders in the company. And boy, I'm telling you that it just took off. And so when he said, "We're starting having meetings, Sylv, this is what you do," I'm like, "Okay." And so that's what I did. And so we've done this together, and we're very, very grateful for Renatus and what the Lord has done for us, and not just us. I say that, but you know, this is about helping other people. There's a lot of people right here in the state of Arizona and outside that are doing real estate because of what they learned through Renatus. And so I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yes, yes.
Well,
So
and Debbie, Sylvia, she became the, I'm going to say, the backbone of our local team. We had our team in Scottsdale, Arizona,
Nice.
and she became, well, she was the founder, and I'm trying to think of the word to use, honey, of the hospitality team.
She's
Yeah.
like glue. She glued it
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, well, and here's the exciting thing. 2 years after we were in Renatus, one day I got a phone call from Bob Snyder, and he said, "Dr. G, how you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm doing great, Bob." Of course, it's always good to hear Bob's voice, right? He's
Yeah.
so positive just in his voice,
Yes.
and it's genuine too. But he said, "Well, the Founders Advisory Board and we've been discussing you and Sylvia, and we would like to invite you to be on the PAC, the President's Advisory Council." At that time, it was the Founders Advisory Board. And I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, Bob, tell me, what does that entail?" And so he told me what that entailed. And I said, "Well, Bob, my goodness, what an honor." And I said, "Would you give me some time to pray about it?" And he laughed. He said, "Take all the time you want to pray, Dr. G." I said, "Okay, Bob, I'm done praying. When do you want me to start?" And so we've had the privilege of being on the PAC for 10 years. Well, and you know, we all went through the COVID thing. And in January of 21, I enrolled 2 new students. And I thought, okay, we're going to come out of this COVID thing and we're going to really move forward financially. Well, the last week of January 21, I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning and I couldn't walk and I couldn't see. And I thought, well, something's wrong, you know. And so I went out and I crawled out in the living room. I couldn't walk. Fell asleep in my recliner and woke up about 7:30. I thought, well, I better wake Sylvia up, because you have to understand, when my wife sleeps, she sleeps. Okay. And I didn't want to disturb her. So anyway, they took me to the Mayo Hospital, and I'd had a stroke. And so I was in the Mayo Hospital for 3 days. I was in rehab for 7 days. And it's been 19 months now, and I'm pretty well coming out of it. The last 6 months have been real positive as far as my physical and mental recovery. But a stroke is very humbling. It really makes you take stock of where your life is going to end and what's going to happen next. But that's when I decided, well, okay, I haven't been able to do anything with Renatus because of the stroke. So I began to get involved in some training to be a life coach. So I'm going back to my skills as a marriage and family counselor, individual counselor. And so we now have a website up, and I've become a life coach working with people to really learn how to get free from the past so they can join the present and create a future. And that's what Renatus is all about: getting out of the past, joining the present, and building the future financially.
Wow,
So-
I love that. I love that. Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure, go right ahead.
I like to dig down into the nitty gritty, and I just want to know, how do you face these types of adversities? Where did you get the courage? Where did you get the keep going to figure this out and be willing to take this chance? I mean, you must have throughout your life experienced other adversities. We all do, but just this is incredible because you not only joined Renatus after experience that must have been devastating, Gary and Sylvia, to go, wow, I can't, what did that feel like? I'm
Well, here again, it just goes back to the fact that I was broke, but I don't do broke. Now that's me. That's my personality. And it's not fun being broke, but I'll never forget.
But I think that you got to understand too, Debbie, Gary has always been a starter.
okay.
And from the time that we were married, Gary is out there doing his thing. He didn't care if anybody else came along. He didn't care what other people thought, Debbie. He just got out there and did it. I mean, my word, we started churches in Canada. We started Christian schools. He started churches here in the States. We were married 6 months when he started a little church in a place called Knob Noster, Missouri.
Wow.
And that's where Whitman Air Force Base is. And we started a church there. That church is still there today.
Wow.
So he has always been an entrepreneur at heart, but he just started out doing it, building churches. And we built 2 churches in Canada in the 12 years that we were there, and we built 2 private Christian schools personally ourselves. We helped start other Christian schools and other churches. We helped those pastors come in there and those missionaries that gave them support, and we did everything we could to help them. We got school material for people, and we used our ability to get that through our school to distribute to others. Gary has always been an entrepreneur, and then he resigned all of that and said, I'm going to start a counseling center. And I'm like, why after all that we have built here? And he's like, Sylv, that's what God wants me to do, and I know God wants me to do this. And we did that for 23 years. He started a counseling center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And after 10 years, we moved here, and we were here 13 years before he retired. So you've got to understand, Gary is always at heart an entrepreneur. And those of you that are on here that are entrepreneurs, you can't stop. You've got always have to have something to start and build. And that's what Gary has always done. So you ask him, and in his mind, he's like, well, that's just what I do. I'm just not going to quit. He's just an entrepreneur.
Wow.
So,
okay. May I add something here now, sweetheart? Sylvia is usually a pretty quiet person, man. She's really sharing
love
today.
it.
She's enjoying this, Debbie.
I'm enjoying it too.
Well, when I was in the hospital, and this is really something, when I was in recovery from that stroke, there was a window in my room. I had a private room, and right outside the window was a little patio, but there was a brick wall there. And as I'm laying there all by myself, after all of the success I've had in Renatus, I'm laying there and I'm recovering from a stroke. And I saw that brick wall. And I said, okay, Lord, there's another wall in front of me. But I'm going to find a way to get over that wall, around that wall, or under that wall. I'm not going to let this be the end of my life. And Debbie, I want to share this encouragement to everyone that's on this Zoom call. I refuse to live without a purpose. I told Sylvia, I can't come home and just sit in my recliner and say, okay, I'm 78 years old. My life is over. Poor me. I've had a stroke. And thank God the stroke didn't affect my speech, but I literally could not walk. It took months for my eyesight to get back to normal. I couldn't write. So I had a lot of things to overcome, but I decided I'm going to overcome them. Now I say it like this. successful people are not people without problems. They are people who've learned how to solve their problems. Okay. And so I decided, well, here's another problem. I'm going to solve it. And so now we're on a journey. And what's interesting, last September, I went to the hospital for a kidney biopsy. I've developed some kidney problems. And so then my wife brought me home, and I woke up several hours later in horrible pain. Make a long story short, that evening, I finally said, take me to the emergency room. They did a CAT scan, found out that I had an internal bleed. I had been bleeding for 12 hours internally. So they took me to another hospital, and about midnight that night, they did an emergency surgery on me and stopped the bleeding. And so, you know, it's just one thing after another. And I thought, okay, well, here's another brick wall. But you know what? I know there's a lot of people out there that need help. They need help financially. They need help mentally, emotionally. They need someone not to just encourage them, but I would say give them insight on how they can overcome their circumstances. My circumstances have never controlled me. Now, I'm not going to give people the impression I've never been discouraged because of my circumstances. We've all been discouraged.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let my circumstances control the outcome of my life. I'm going to create the circumstances I want to create instead of letting the circumstances that are there to control me. Does that make sense, Debbie?
Absolutely. I'm writing all these notes. Very much so. I love it.
So anyway, I'm looking at Bill Omey's picture up there. I'll tell you what, I am so jealous of that guy. He has got a system going out there that I wish we could embrace here, but boy, the numbers are just so totally out of whack here in the valley area, you know. But anyway,
He's definitely a gem. He's
oh, he is awesome guy.
But let's not give him a big head or anything.
Oh, I don't think that happened. So what other questions do you have, Debbie?
Well, I'm just, I have a lot. I'm just soaking in everything that you said to me. And thank you, Sylvia, for painting that background picture for us, because I think that was important, because that's one of my first questions that I had was, how did they face that? How devastating to get to retirement. And so I appreciate that.
I forgot. I meant to tell you something after Sylvia shared her information. I'll never forget, Debbie, and this was just at the very beginning when I was going to the Renatus Thursday night events. And anyway, I came home it was on a Friday night, and I woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning, and Sylvia was out in the living room, and she was crying. There was no lights on. She was just sitting in the dark crying. And I said, honey, are you all right? No, I'm not all right, Gary. What's going to happen to us? We're fighting bankruptcy. We're losing our house. We have no money. And I'll tell you, Debbie, I was very frustrated. And finally, I just threw my hands up in the air and I said, Sylvia, I don't know what's going to happen to us, but I promise you this, I will find us the driest bridge in the valley to live under. and I went to bed. Well, I don't know when she came to bed, but anyway, it was about 2 weeks later, I went to a Friday night event and I was introduced to the compensation plan that Bob had created. And I got to tell you something, the compensation plan for enrolling students, and I tell everybody, Renatus is the premier real estate investing education system in America. It's the most brilliant, generous compensation plan in America. You will not find another compensation plan as generous as this one. And so anyway, I came home, it was a Friday night, and I said, Sylvia, we're not going to bed until you come to understand what I learned tonight. And we were up to what, honey? I think it was midnight, wasn't it?
Yeah, for you, that's late.
Yeah, I'm the life of the party, even if it does last till 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I went through the compensation plan and I went back through it again. Because Sylvia's forte is not numbers, okay? And when she finally called, it's kind of like this bell went off in her head. And she said, "Are we going to make that kind of money?" And I said, "Yes, I am. Yes, we are." And so we went to bed. And I got up. It was about midnight. About 1:30, 2 o'clock. She was out in the living room watching TV, Debbie. And I said, "Honey, are you okay?" She said, "Yes." I said, "You never watch TV at this time in the morning. What's going on?" She says, "I'm so excited about the money we're going to make. I can't go to sleep." So 2 weeks, her whole thought process totally changed.
That is so amazing. So question, would you say, because, you guys have been in our community much longer than I have, but it's sometimes it's hard to articulate. A couple points I want to bring out. I believe, and I'd love to get your take on that, if someone will come in and just follow our system, take some classes, that these are tools that I feel can help people start from point A to get to wherever it is they want to get to. What was your experience like with that? How helpful was that? Obviously, you had to start over.
That's a great question. Remember, I knew nothing about real estate. I had a counseling clinic for 23 years, and then I had a 5-year pity party. When I retired, found out my retirement was going. Now, I don't know if anybody on this call can identify with self-pity, but I mean, I crawled into that pool of self-pity for 5 years. Okay. And the thing about a pity party is it's a lonely party. Nobody wants to come and celebrate with you. Okay. And so anyway, go back. I had something I want to share. What was that last thing you said, Debbie?
About just plugging into the system that was offered.
Yeah. Well, the first class I took was Creative Acquisitions by Chris Alban. So now understand, I had no background, no knowledge of real estate investing at all. And so I took that class, Creative Acquisitions, and I thought, okay, I'm going to see how this works. So I had another person that became my investor partner. And then I ran across a fellow who became my project manager. So I had an investor, I had a project manager, and then I was introduced to a hard money loan lender. And so my project manager brought a property to me out in Mesa. And so because of what I learned in Creative Acquisitions, which is I learned how to take ownership and control of real estate with none of my own money, none of my own credit, because I had no credit and I had no money. But anyway, so we bought that house out in Mesa, Arizona. And how long was it, honey? About 3 months, 4 months, something like that.
Yeah.
In my first deal, I made $37,000 profit. Now, remember, I wanted to do fix and flip because I need to create income now.
Right.
And so I thought, wow, this really works. Okay. And so my next property was out in Laveen, Arizona, which is another suburb of Phoenix. And it worked again. Bought a bank-owned property, and my project manager, we turned it around in about 3 or 4 weeks. I made something like about $35,000 profit on that one. Now, understand, coming out of bankruptcy, generating over $70,000 in the first 6 months, that's a pretty good recovery.
It's a blessing.
Okay. Yeah, a total blessing. And so Sylvia says, "Well, I'm glad to see you're finally making some money." So
that is so incredible that it's possible. You got out of your own way after, your pity party. I'm so inspired. And the tools that we have, if people will just plug in.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing. It's like I said earlier, remember, Gary never missed an event.
Right.
He didn't miss anything. He went to everything. I remember the first time I heard Mark Kohler. Gary's like, "You have to hear this guy. You have to come with me and hear this guy." And I'm like, "Who is this guy? I don't care anything about taxes and liens, and I could care less." He's like, "No, so this guy's a great speaker. He's a great speaker." So Gary went to everything. Back in those days, it was a challenging for us to get the money to go to all of these events, these regionals and all
Right.
that stuff, and all these special events that they held on weekends and things like that. It was a struggle for us.
Right.
But he was bound and determined to be successful in this real estate investing. That's what he wanted to do. And so as a result of that, he got laser focused and nothing else took his attention. Now, I know we didn't have family, we didn't have kids, and because we're old then, we're older now. So, but anyway, so you've got to get focused. You've got to decide what it is that you want and then go get it. And no matter all of the things that go through, like I remember in the beginning, he did one house. He didn't realize, because it was one of the first ones that he ever bought to flip. And there was some kind of a law that he had to own that house for 3 months before he could sell it.
Right.
Well, he didn't realize that. We got that house ready and then he couldn't even put it on the market. So we had to wait 3 months. That house sat there. Well, that seemed like forever to us because we needed money. We were broke.
Right.
And then after this lady wanted it, I'm going to buy it. We filled out all the paperwork. She went to get her loan. She had a tax lien against her and she had to clear up that tax lien. But she wanted that house. Please, please don't sell this house. I want this house. Please don't sell it. I'll get this cleaned up in a couple of weeks. It took her 3 months. So that house sat on the market for 6 months before we ever did get all the final paperwork and stuff. So we learned that in real estate, it's not quick, it's not easy sometimes, and it certainly isn't fast always. So
Right.
those are some things that we learned, and in the beginning that's hard, but it was he realized I got to make sure I don't buy these houses that you have to hold for so long before you can sell them and things like that. So it was pretty cool.
That is cool. It's always a learning process. There's so many
Yes.
different
Yep.
challenges. I know multiple people on this line with us have completely, experienced some of the same types of challenges, but we just don't quit. We figure out. Plus, as the market changes, things change. We went through a pandemic. I mean, thankful. I would never want to go through a global pandemic without this community.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
No
what?
kidding.
Yeah.
The knowledge that we have, that's pretty amazing. Thank you for sharing. It's really sometimes hard to put into words the system that we have. And if people will just
Debbie, you can't put the system into words. It's like a marriage. Okay. If I knew what Sylvia and I were headed for, I don't know if we would have gotten married. Okay. But it took me a few years to learn how to be a husband. And let me say this, a person's success in their business, their entrepreneurship, is closely related to one's own self-image. If you don't have a positive self-image about yourself, you will never be able to create a positive pattern for your future. And the reason most people suffer from a poor self-image is because they believe what other people say about them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, as we build our team, and you've experienced, people come and go in life. And the ones that come and then go, you just say, God bless you, have a great life. Because you will eventually attract people around you that will embrace the same principles that you embrace. And if you're trying to perform so you can gain acceptance from other people, well, that's just a dance on an empty dance floor. Okay, nobody's going to join you. But if you're at peace with yourself, you will be able to draw people to you that believe in themselves, and then you can build a solid foundation for your financial well-being. And that's what my life coaching is all about, Debbie. I want to help people get free from the past. See, my book, the subtitle, as Bill Omi so wonderfully brought out, the subtitle is Overcoming the Addiction Everyone Suffers. Okay, everybody. Now, I mean, everybody has created patterns of rejection in their life that they continue to replicate in all their adult relationships. See, by the time we're 8 years old, 80% of our emotional patterns are formed. By the time we're 18, 100% of our self-image is formed. So when you look at the average 40, 50, or 60-year-old person, you're going to see an adult person or an adult body that has the emotional patterns of a child. It's that simple. To share a story, point in hand, I had an 80-year-old retired medical doctor and his wife come to me for counseling. And I shared that fact, by the time you're 8 years old, 80% of your emotional patterns are formed. By the time you're 18, 100% of your self-image is formed. And so he looked at me and he said, well, Dr. G, what you're telling me is I'm an 80-year-old, 8-year-old. I said, yeah, that's right. And so his wife leaned over and patted him on the leg and said, see, sweetheart, I told you, you act like a little boy. and that's true of everybody.
Mhm.
Okay, very, very few people ever get free from the past. And so Sylvia and I, we learned some truths years ago that taught us how we could break free from the past and build a healthy, happy relationship with each other. Okay. So
I actually have had the privilege of going through some sessions with you. So you have put it in such a systematic,
mhm.
you know how to describe it, but it makes perfect sense. Just again, following the system. So
Yeah.
I agree and appreciate very much so. You have to deal with those things.
Well, and Debbie, you've gone through a lot of deep chaos yourself in your background, but you decided to make yourself a priority. And Debbie, there's nothing wrong with that. We're told in the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. If you don't have a positive self-image, you love yourself on a healthy level. We're not talking about an egotistical, conceited form of self-love. We're talking about a grateful acceptance of who you are and how God made you to be the person you are. And congratulations to you, young lady.
Thank you. Thank you. Because life is hard enough. If you got to deal with, you got to have that positive self-image.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
getting up, fighting every day. You got to have that. So thank you.
Oh, Debbie, may I bring this out before I forget it? Those who would like to perhaps order my book, they can go to my website, rejectionjunkies.com, and they'll see a link at the top that says book. And so they can buy the book through Amazon on my website, or they can just go to amazon.com and type in Rejection Junkies and buy the book. But anyway,
Yes,
so I just wanted to share that, okay?
I have that book too. It's very good.
Good, thank you.
Yes, you I mean, I think God has just given you a message to share, and you've not only, like we always say about Bill Loomy, you walk the talk. So and he
Yeah.
does too, you know, you're walking the talk. So we're grateful for that. I want to tie in, and then we'll open for questions. And again,
Sure.
if there's something I haven't asked you that you think is pertinent, please, because there's so much here. We could stay here all day. This is you guys are just a wealth of inspiration and knowledge. But you mentioned being able to be on the FAB, and then what is now called the PAC, like the Founders Advisory Board.
Yes.
So sometimes we like to bring up on these calls, besides the amazing system that we were able to follow, you know, you doing these real estate strategies. I have my own stories of that I would have never been able to do without the Renatus education. I mean, there's multiple stories, but the cool thing that I think sometimes we overlook is the wealth cycle that Bob Swank created for us. And sometimes that's hard to articulate to someone and you know, on the outside looking in. They're already thinking that we're, you know, people just are born with skepticism. The world just trains us to be skeptical.
Right.
So with the wealth cycle, for me, it took me a moment to really embrace it, but what it did for me, and I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on it, is that I have now relationships on this call here and more that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. I became instantly rich in relationships. I did 5 real estate deals my first year because I saw the value of this wealth cycle. And
Mhm.
so I just, it can be hard to articulate, but besides those real estate transactions that you were able to do, that created a whole nother stream of income for you. And you mentioned the comp plan and how excited Sylvia was. So that brings up a whole nother.
Right. And I don't think there's any way that you can actually articulate it clearly to those who don't believe in themselves. Because if they don't believe in themselves, they're not going to embrace the Renaissance education system.
Right.
But I remember back in 2015, you help me here, honey. I think it was August of 2015. I had my right hip replaced. And then December of 2015, I had my left hip replaced. Now, at that time, I forget, I'm getting so old now. I think I was 70. And anyway, I was recovering. And but I remember distinctly, I kept track of the numbers because of the compensation plan. For a 90-day period, Renaissance was paying me $1,641 a day in commission. That's $1,461 a day in commission, a day, not a week, not a month. And Renaissance is the only company I know of that pays us twice a month. Okay. But
Or twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yeah, twice a week.
Twice
a week, not twice a month.
Twice a week. And so anyway, to try to explain that to people, it sounds unbelievable. I found it hard for me to believe. I thought, wow, what's going on here? But I wasn't having to work in a job for 40 hours a week. All you have to do is focus on helping other people and help them solve their financial dilemma, and the financial blessing will come to you. Now, remember, we lost our house, and so God put us in a beautiful condo for 4 years, and the guy wanted to sell the condo, and I could have bought it for $330,000, but I would have had to pay $40,000 down on it, and then for the next 15 years, I was going to have a mortgage payment of well over $2,000 a month. And I told Sylvia, you know, I don't want to spend the rest of my life making a mortgage payment. And so I drove by this 55+ community, beautiful golf course and swimming pools and everything. And it was a manufactured home, 55+ community. And so I walked into the building and I said, hi, I'm looking for a home. And I wondered if someone could give me some information on this community. She said, well, I probably can, I own it. And so we got acquainted, and she said, well, are you Dr. Gary Lawrence? And I said, well, yes, I am. She said, I listen to you every day on the radio. Well, what are the odds? And so anyway, because of Renatus, we bought this beautiful 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath manufactured home by Cavco with a huge deck out front and a wraparound porch. And so because of what I learned in Renatus, I was able to negotiate 0% interest for 18 months. And because of Renatus and the compensation plan, I was able to pay our house off in 18 months.
Wow.
Now, here we are all these years later. I'm recovering from a stroke, recovering from that kidney problem. But I don't have any financial worries. I've got money in the bank. I have no debt. My cars are paid for. Everything we have is paid for. Do you know what a blessing that is, Debbie?
Yes.
The bottom line, Sylvia and I would not be where we are if it wasn't for Renatus. And I know, yes, I embraced it, but Bob is the one that put the system together, and he was the one that shared that system with us. And so for those of you who are maybe wondering, should I or should I not? Absolutely. If you really care about your future, you should. So
thank you. So that brings up a point, because sometimes we do. The stories that we have
Yeah,
are incredible. The types of real estate people have been able to do. I mean, again, I keep repeating myself, but it's just amazing,
right.
of what people have been able to do, the sheer grit and determination and the different types of real estate deals. Sometimes we have people come into our community because our education is second to none.
Right.
All of you would agree with me on that. And so that stands by itself. But sometimes people are like, I'm just going to go do this, or I'm going to just focus on real estate, which makes sense. But I think the thing that I'm always trying to get through to people is without the wealth cycle, because it's a choice. You don't have to do both of them. But for me, I do not believe I would have done any real estate deals, or not as many as I have, without it, because it's like a genius system that Bob
Yeah.
created. And it's so just, I would encourage anyone that is just focusing on real estate, that they're missing a piece of this magical formula.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of compare sharing Renatus with other people to sharing my marriage with other people. My wife is the sweetest, most kind, gentle, loving, giving human being a man could have for a wife. Well, once I learned honey.
Thank you.
Once I learned how to love Gary Lawrence, then I could learn how to love my wife. Now, say it like this: a man's ability to love his wife is the overflow of his own self-esteem. If a man doesn't have a positive self-image, he will not be able to have a healthy level of love and acceptance for his wife. It's absolutely impossible. Well, just imagine, Sylvia and I, we've been married 55 years. I compare this to being enrolled in the Renatus education. Yeah, here's my wife, 55-year wife. And people say, well, who's that? Well, I don't know. She's pretty important to me, but it's not really important to be part of it. It's like, come on, are you ashamed of Renatus? Are you grateful for Renatus? Or maybe because of some of your own weaknesses in life, you've not been able to apply the principles that the Renatus education brings to you. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, Debbie.
It does. It makes sense. It's pretty incredible when you look at it. Even just the amount of revenue that you can produce as well. It's a whole nother revenue stream. And like you said, it was able to be there for you at a time when you were not able to work or put effort. Antonio on the line here had the same story with his mother in the hospital. I mean, there's so many times that people in our community have made good revenue stream separate from their real estate. Because as you said, Sylvia, sometimes real estate is it's not just happening. And then sometimes there's roadblocks. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Is Antonio Lobo on this call?
He is. He's part of the team. He's one.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, Antonio.
Hi, Dr. Gabe. How are you? Awesome.
No, you're right, Debbie. There have been times when Gary was not able to work and put in as far as all of his energy into, sharing this information with people. But other people that he had already shared it with, they were able to do it. And because of that comp plan, the result was that we had this income that we didn't plan on coming in, but we were very grateful for. So, that's still today. That's even still today. And so we are grateful because Gary's not able to work now. And especially since his stroke, he's really struggled and to get back on his feet and get back to where he is now. It's a process and it takes time and it's slow. And I'm going to tell you, we are just so grateful for Renatus because of the comp plan. We don't have to worry about those things. And so we're very grateful for that. So
That's amazing. 'Cause
good deal.
There's so many people out there that don't believe there's anything out there like this. They don't believe.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it is a true blessing. I'm grateful that I get to be part of this inner circle and that I said yes 7 years ago, because it's a journey and it's not always a bed of roses.
Right.
But
Yeah.
all of you are here to remind me to keep on going. If I fall down.
It's like my son Kevin Lawrence says, real estate investing is not all ding dongs and cupcakes. So
And that's,
Debbie, we've got about 30 minutes left. I wonder if there's anybody that may have some questions.
I'm sure there are. Let me ask one more question, then we'll open it up.
Sure.
So you mentioned your son. I was going to mention him as well. How cool is that you're able to work with your family? I mean, and he wasn't necessarily on board at first as well?
Oh, no, it took 5 years for him. And what happened is, and he had a very successful business in insurance.
Okay.
And, but he said, I got sick and tired of watching my dad make more than me and working less than me. And so he finally got on road. He told his wife, Lori, he said, we need to take another look at Renatus. And so we sat down and I went through the compensation plan, went through the education. And I told him, I said, now, son, you do it because it's what you want to do. You don't do it for your dad, because your dad won't always be there for you. You're going to have to walk on the trail of by yourself at times. And so right now they've got 2 deals. They just put a new mobile home, a double wide mobile home on a lot down in Casa Grande, Arizona. They have it listed right now, another fix and flip out in Mesa, Arizona. And so they're just clicking right along. Of course, they're challenged with the crazy economic situation that's been created from the White House. We won't get into that. Okay, I promise we won't touch that.
No, that's amazing. I love him and his wife, and he's another amazing story of piece of this community. So I just wanted to mention that. But yes, if you guys want to, you're welcome to come off mute. Let's just be respectful of each other if someone else is talking, and we will open this up for questions. I know that you have a lot, because I even have more. I'm so grateful for you. You might have to come back for a second visit.
Okay.
Dr. and Sylvia, but do we have any questions? Okay, yay, that's a good thing. Raise your hand. So Sandra, you can go first. Hi, honey.
I am so happy to meet. I met you at the Nationals, and I love your story, Gary and Sylvia, Dr. G. You are an inspiration to, I think, the medical community, general doctors, because a lot of people plan like you to retire. And I want to, there's several questions I have, but as a new student, when you came in and the system did not work for you, you had made arrangements for 24 years or 25 years to save your money, and then you lost everything in the market. As a new student, how did you feel that the system had broken you, not you, but took your money away? And also, what part of the education really helped you to move on and go fast on this?
Okay, thank you so much. So Sandra, you're asking me to respond to how do we feel about how the American economic system failed us? Well, I just feel like there's a lot of incompetent people in Washington, okay? There's a lot of incompetent people in Washington that don't love the American people. And so I learned the hard way. I thought I had a system that was going to work, but unfortunately for 25 friggin' years, I invested in a system where I had no say-so and no control over my financial well-being. The good thing about real estate investing is you have a good advantage in the fact that you can learn how to control your investments yourself. And it's just like right now, I think the 401ks are down 25%. So if your retirement income was invested in a 401k, You just put your money in a system you have no say-so over, and you've lost 25% of your future financially. And I got to tell you something, that's scary. Okay, if all you're going to have to depend on is social insecurity, you're up the creek. You're in trouble. Okay, because social insecurity is not going to pay anything. Now, the second question is, how did I feel that the system of Renatus gave me the advantage financially? Well, it's like when I had my marriage and counseling practice, I taught people how to build a healthy, successful relationship and not live in a dream world of what could happen, what may happen, but learn how to build a healthy relationship now. Well, Renatus has brought into our life the education system of being a genuine real estate investor. Okay. And like I shared, but the first class I took was creative acquisitions. Then another class I took was Mark Kohler's class on taxes. Now I thought, oh my gosh, I have been paying so much in taxes. Why didn't someone teach me this? Well, that's because the American education system doesn't teach you how to be an entrepreneur and handle taxes. They teach you how to get ready to go out and look for a stupid job. Okay. And that really limits people. It really does. So did I answer the question, Sandra?
Yes, doctor, exactly. That's how I felt when I came into the community, that I was lacking so much information.
Yeah.
And my husband's a dentist, so we were in the same position that, like, how am I going to retire? I did not trust the stock market because I saw the 2008 crash, and I'm like, I cannot invest on that. So I thought real estate was going to be the option to do that, to change that. And it just, I've been
you're breaking up, Sandra.
Yeah, I know. It's I'm outside. I'm in a car show with my
Sandra,
husband.
I did.
Sorry.
Okay, my internet connection's unstable. Debbie, can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Sandra, for some reason, my internet connection's breaking up. I didn't hear everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. G. We're going to see you in Nationals, right? No, he didn't hear me.
I hope so.
Yeah,
We'll definitely bring him
we're
back.
planning on it.
Yes. So we had somebody, and this is a good point. Coco in the chat said, how do you present the comp plan? And I noticed that both you and Sylvia mentioned the compensation plan multiple times. So what I'm hearing is that that's something we should hone in on and learn well if we are Renatus ICM.
Right.
Yes.
So I think sometimes that, I mean, me being one of those people that, you know, maybe numbers are not, I've really changed my relationship with numbers since I got into Renatus, because obviously running real estate deal numbers, but that just is something I wanted to reiterate, that, hey, if you really know the comp plan, then study that and understand it.
Well, and I want to be honest with everyone. Since my stroke in January of 21, I've had to totally go off the radar. And so then because of my kidney complications, I did start doing life coaching. And so what I've done though, I'm a podcast, I'm an interview guest on podcasts. So I put everything off until January 2023. So I've really been pretty well disconnected with enrolling new students because of my health issues.
Right.
But I'm coming back.
Yes,
Coming back, baby.
Yes, you are. And yeah, we all should learn the comp plan and really know it. So thank you for pointing that out. We have a question from Joshua. Joshua, you want to come off mute?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to turn my background.
Oh, you're
Well,
okay.
Okay.
Never mind.
Can you turn your volume up, Josh?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yes, I want to say thank you for coming out and sharing your story. It was a wonderful motivation this morning on a Saturday. On my side, having my mom rake the yard, so that's why I'm kind of breathing kind of heavy. But I want to say, when you said the first class you watched was the creative acquisition, which strategy that you used that worked for you? You maybe said it, but I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Which strategy did I use?
On
Yes.
that first deal or those first two deals,
Well, fix and flip.
was it
flip.
subject to or?
No, I had a hard money lender. I had a private investor,
Okay,
and then I had a project manager. I have done several subject twos. I've had several buy and holds.
Right.
One buy and hold, boy, that was a lesson. It was a duplex. And so the couple that was in one side, they hadn't paid their rent to the previous owner for about 6 months. And I ended up having to evict them. And I eventually got a brand new young couple in the other side. And I was just so frustrated because of the way those deals went. But because of Renata's family, I was able to sell that duplex to another investor. And in a 12-month cycle, I made about $18,000 profit on it. And so there's all kinds of opportunities to learn the different exit strategies. So Joshua, you have to pick what's going to work for you and stick with it. Okay. I personally love Bill Omey's system that he's got. I'm trying to figure out how I can duplicate that here. So.
and Joshua has an advantage because Bill Omey is his 5-star.
Oh my goodness. Bill Omey's your 5-star? You are so fortunate, Josh.
Yes, you are.
What, I would hang on to his belt loop and never let him go.
Yeah.
So do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, I can't see you, but where are you?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, hi, Kelvin.
Hi, Gary.
I'm
Nice to meet you.
Kelvin's
Gary.
5-star. No.
Yeah. So, I have a question. Oh, sorry for the noise. It's the dryer.
You mean you're doing the laundry, dude?
Yeah, I'm a man. I'm a real man. So basically, you guys say you have kids or not?
Yes, we do. We have 2 sons.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, our
They
younger son's 51. Our older
Okay.
son's 54. Yeah, we've got kids. How old are you?
Yeah, I have 2 little girls. I'm starting.
So how old are you, Kevin? Kelvin,
I'm 34.
34. Man, I'm almost old enough to be your granddad.
Or you're a young
Yeah, my oldest
man.
granddaughter's 30.
That's
Aw.
cool. So my question.
So go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's because you age. Some people sometimes they don't after they get to some point in life with the age, so they don't really find they just thinking about retirement and that's it. Wait for I don't know, die or something. And sometimes I get really inspired when I see people in that stage of life and get courage and do something different or keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
So how you guys find the inspiration or the motivation, or I don't know how to say it, to keep going and find a way to be
Well,
when
that's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question, Kelvin. The bottom line is, someone asked me, well, Dr. G, when are you going to retire? And I said, probably when I die. That will be a good time. Okay.
Yeah.
I just refuse to live without a purpose. And what does retirement mean for people? I cannot tell you how many folks I counseled with when they retired, they were miserable because they had no purpose in their life. Over the years, the last 7 years I had my counseling practice, I only took the high profile clients, athletes, people from Hollywood. And my rate was $485 an hour then. Now that was back in 2000, 2003. And I remember I counseled a lady who her husband was an executive for the 3M Corporation. Well, he was flying all over the world for the 3M Corporation. And after 40-some years of marriage, he decided to retire. Well, the man that she had to live with that was retired was totally different than the man that she lived with when he was traveling. She hated him. See, so many people are so busy making money, they don't have a life. Okay, and one thing that we encourage, Calvin, is it's time to stop making a living and learn how to make a life. And so people say, when are you going to retire? My question is, retire to what? Television?
Yeah.
To a stupid, retire to a stupid golf course?
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to retire to? Well, I'm going to retire to the plane of helping other people. I'm going to keep myself available as long as I possibly can to teach the principles of mental and emotional freedom. If they can capture the principles, how to be free mentally and emotionally, then they can capture the principle of how to be free financially. Okay, does that make sense, Kelvin?
Yeah, it's the mindset basically. Yeah.
Yes, it's an
Yeah.
absolute mindset. Yes.
Thank you. Beautiful. Congratulations. Okay.
Great question. Thanks, Kelvin.
Thank you, Kelvin. Wow. So, Dr. G, I just had an epiphany while Kelvin was talking.
Okay.
If this, I was just thinking, I wonder what Dr. G and Sylvia's life would have been like had the plan worked better with the retirement, or what. I'm sure you would have still done something, but think about, I just got chilled. How many people, I'm sure you helped a ton before you even got to that point, but
Yeah.
how many people have you helped since? Isn't it? It just kind of is a big chill for me.
Sylvia, you look like
Yeah,
you want
well,
something.
you know, that's a good question. Gary and I have talked about that a little bit. Yes, we helped a lot of people when we were counseling, a lot of people. And I get people all the time contacting me from Facebook, thanking me, oh, you changed my life. And this is okay. And that's great. You know what? I have so many people in Renatus that have contacted me going, you guys have no idea what you have done, what your story has done for me. Thank you for being on the radio, Dr. G. I heard you and I changed her life. And you know, that's what we're here for, you guys. I tried really hard. Am I breaking up?
Little
I'm
bit.
frozen. There we
Yeah.
go. That's what I try to tell people. We're here to serve others. What can we do to help you have a better life? And if you get that mindset, then I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take advantage of you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you get out of this house that is dragging you down. I'm here to help another couple get into the house, or a single mom that needs a house, or a single dad. We talk about single moms. My brother was a single dad for years. So there are people out there to help. So that's what we do in real estate. With Renatus, we help people learn how to do real estate. So this education is fabulous. So now I'm helping you learn this education so you can share this with others, bring in that extra money, bring in that money from real estate. That's what we're here for, you guys. And that should be your number one thing. What can I do to serve you?
Yeah.
That's what we do. So
Wow. I love it. I love it. It's so true. So, I mean,
it's true.
everything happened as it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, what would life have been if we would not have lost our retirement? I don't know, and I don't want to. I'm glad I didn't have to find out. Okay. God sent Renatus to us, and we're just so grateful for the opportunity to have become part of Renatus and share with so many other people. And it's not just sharing Renatus. Is you know, I have Debbie. I had literally refused to enroll people because all they want to do is focus on making money. I got to make money.
Mhm.
Well, that's not a healthy motivation. I mean, I literally have refused tens of thousands of dollars in commission simply because the person I was talking to had a wrong attitude about Renatus. I just didn't want to bring that chaos into my life. I
Yes.
guess, you know, I look at Renatus as a virgin young lady. I did not want to bring anybody in from the outside to spoil that purity of Renatus.
Yes, that is
I don't
very
know if that's a good knowledge or not, Bill. I see you're smiling there.
That is very good, because what we have is something special.
Yeah, big time.
Typically, what I've seen running communities is the people that don't stick with us are not
Right.
of the same. They're looking for maybe a shortcut or some sort of self-serving kind
That's
of.
right. Yeah. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, so that's very good advice. So it's not for everyone. That this has been such a blessing. We have just a few more minutes. If anyone else wants to come out, you're more than welcome to. You want to raise your
I have a
hand?
good story. This is years ago when I was getting ready to join Renatus, I had looked up as many of the President's Advisory Council people as I could, because I was like doing my due diligence. I'm like, I don't know about these guys, right? So I called him up, and one of the people I called up was Dr. Gary Lawrence.
Nice.
And I talked to him, and I don't know if you remember the conversation, but I said, you know, hey, I'm looking at this Renatus thing, and can you tell me about your experience? And he told me the story, right? He told me about, hey, I lost my retirement, so I was trying to figure out how to get started again. When I found this group, it really was, you know, it was what I was looking for, and I've been able to help so many people. That story went a long way towards me going, okay,
Wow.
you know what? This thing's for real, because it was such a compelling story, right?
Yeah.
But that was part of my due diligence, is I had found Dr. Gary's number somehow on the internet, and I called him up and I asked him how everything was going. So yeah, you're making look at the impression you're making across the world, right?
Yeah.
By doing what you're doing. And I
Well,
appreciate
thank you,
it.
Bill. Well, thank you, Bill. It's just,
Thank you.
It's just a joy to call you my friend.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to be your friend, and I always like calling you up. And Dr. Gary, I tell you, the other day I gave him a call. I left him a message. Dr. Gary, I haven't talked to you in a while. We got to get together. Give me a call.
Yeah,
That's great.
I remember hearing that message from you. I'm like, wow, you need to give him a call, Gary. He's like, yeah, I will, but we got to do this call with Debbie first. So
There you go.
like, okay.
That is so awesome. I'm grateful to call all of you friends. So
Well, Debbie, it's just been a real joy and to be part of this coffee talk, as you call it.
yes.
And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to share our story again. And folks, if I can help you, may I give my personal cell phone number?
Yes, I can type it in the chat if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, my personal cell phone number is 602-315-0844. And then once again, I encourage you go to my website, rejectionjunkies.com. And my email address is Dr. G. I'm sorry, that's rejectionjunkies.com is my website. And my email is Dr. G, DRG, at rejectionjunkies.com. That's Dr. G at rejectionjunkies.com.
And no period or anything, just Dr. G. Okay.
Yeah, DRG
Got it.
at rejectionjunkies.com. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well,
Bill, I don't remember that call, but you know, since I've had my stroke, here's what's interesting. The only stuff I have a lot of memories of is Renatus and all my principles I teach my coaching. I have no lack of memory there. That's good.
Yeah.
I remember your good looking face, Bill. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know. See, you're jealous, right?
You guys are so
Okay.
funny.
All right, Debbie, anything else, honey?
I am just blessed. My cup is full, and that's what happens on these coffee and conversations. And this has been one of my favorite stories. So we can share the recording. One last moment for you guys to ask any questions. Please feel free to come off of mute.
Will you be sending that link out to us for the recording?
I absolutely will.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Debbie.
And I definitely do not need as much time to pass that has passed since I spoke to you and Sylvia last, because my life is definitely much better.
I have a question.
Oh, we have a question. I don't see you. Where are you?
Doctor, it's Alejandro. I was in United States last week for 2 months. I used to live in Canada for 15 years, a Colombian and Canadian citizen. I just wondering, right now I'm in Colombia. I have a lot of friends here in Colombia and as well in Brazil. I speak Portuguese as well. I just wondering if you have any experience doing the business with international clients that meet all the requirements to United States law. Is my question to you. Do you have any experience with international clients that can do the business, the marketing?
No,
No,
we don't. Okay. No, we have no experience internationally. We've done all of our work here in the States.
Okay, thank you.
But what you might want to do, you might want to call the Renatus home office and talk to Bob Snyder. He'll be glad to give you information on that. The CEO and founder of the company will be glad to spend some time with you.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
That is great advice.
Thank you for that question.
I have a question.
It's just a joy to see you again. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And folks, we've enjoyed our time with you. I hope we've been somewhat of an encouragement to you and a blessing and a little bit of encouragement and motivation.
Absolutely. I think Dr. G, we have one more question, then I have one last question and we'll wrap this up.
Okay, sure. I'm not in a hurry.
Coco, you have a question, honey?
Yes, thank you, Dr. G. Thank you, Sylvia. Happy birthday to you. And thank you. You're always awesome. Always. I love you very much.
Thank you, Coco. Appreciate you,
man. Of course.
Man.
My question is for the couples, for the married people, the girlfriends, boyfriends. When you have someone that is not letting the other person understand about Renatus, what would be the best advice that you can give it to them?
Well, boy, that's a loaded question, Coco. You know, when I go back to when I was introduced to Renatus, Sylvia is very skeptical and apprehensive. And so I just said, look, Sylvia, I don't expect you to go to any of the events. Honey, at this time of your life, I just want you to relax. I'll do my best to make enough money to buy groceries next week. But in the meantime, I'm going to stay focused. Now, here's why, Coco. I'm old school. I believe it was my responsibility to take care of the lady I married. And I was not going to put the pressure on her to agree with me. So what I did is I released her to be free with her skepticism. I did not argue with her. I did not fight with her. I said, honey, it's not your responsibility. I'm going to do this for us. If it works, you'll be glad. Yeah. If it doesn't, we won't be any worse off. Okay. And you know, I'll just be able to find us a better bridge to live under. Okay. But for married people where there is a disagreement with one person, that's just simply because they have a fear factor they haven't dealt with. Or perhaps they have bitterness towards their husband or their wife, their boyfriend or girlfriend or fiance. And because of something that's happened in their relationship, then they're going to reject the opportunity for Renatus. And so I just, if it's a man, I encourage him move forward. And I think, Debbie, that's what happened with you. You decide, I'm going to embrace this. And you made it work. And it's been a battle, hasn't it?
It has. Definitely.
Yeah. Did I answer the question, Coco?
That was
Okay.
amazing. That was brilliant. And so I know we're running out of time, but I have one last thing.
Okay,
I've taken a lot of notes of different nuggets you've given me.
sure.
What was it that you were talking about? Join the present. I missed the first part. Was release the past, maybe join the present, something.
Well, what happens, Debbie, that's a great question. People are so entrapped with their negative emotional patterns that were built into them. For an example, when Sylvia and I got married, I'm the extrovert personality, right? And I would show affection by hugging. And I would say, "You're beautiful. Oh man, honey, you look so pretty today." And she would say things like this, "Well, you're only saying that because I'm your wife." And that gave me the message. She didn't believe me. Well, as I began to learn these principles of how to gain mental and emotional freedom, we realized that Sylvia had a pattern of self-rejection. When she was a little girl, she was never praised verbally. She never heard the words, "I love you." She was never hugged by her mom and dad. She was always verbally put down. And so as an adult, she was not able to believe in my praise. Okay. And at the same time, she had no choice but to reject it. Why is that? Because that was her emotional pattern. That was her safety zone. So we had to learn how to get her free from that past pattern so that we can build a healthy relationship in the present.
In the present.
Okay. Now, secondly, my hostility, I had a real anger problem. And if she didn't do everything I thought she should do, I'd get angry. And she would say, "Why are you always yelling at me?" I said, "Sylvia, I'm not yelling at you." "Well, listen to you." And so I yell at her. Well, now where did I get that pattern? In my past, my parents were always drunk. They were always arguing. They were always yelling. I never heard the words, "I love you," from my father till I was 22. Now here I was 22 or 23 when I started that church in Dobdowson, Missouri. And so I'm not able to believe that she loved me. And that's because of her withdrawal. So I would get angry, she would withdraw. And excuse me. I say it like this: opposites attract, then they attack, and then they retract. And that's what Sylvia and I were doing. So we were not able to mentally and emotionally build that healthy relationship because we were trapped in the past. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's so brilliant. It's so true. And that I went through it with you. And so many people just don't understand that. And I loved it when you related that to the Renatus system and education. So
Yeah.
I am super grateful. I can't wait to hear what you guys do going forward. So I definitely personally want to invite you back to this call.
Whenever you're ready for us, Debbie, we'll be glad to.
We love you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sylvia. You two are a gem. God has blessed me by putting us in the same circle. And I don't have any more words.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure. You have a great group of people on here, and we have enjoyed it so much. So hopefully we've been giving you a couple of little nuggets, and you can take those and build some great things, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. We love you, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Debbie. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining
Thank you.
us.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so
Gary,
much.
Sylvia, and Debbie.
Recording
You're
stopped.
welcome.
Beautiful.